StudioJake is pre-recorded. I rarely go live and I rarely have guests on my program. I just prefer this format where I pick a topic that's interesting to me and I hope is interesting to you. I pre-record it and then I post it. However, this format does have one weakness. If there's a breaking news story after I've already posted one, I'm sometimes unable to cobble together another webisode just because of life. So that happened to me this weekend when Stephen Colbert himself announced on his show that he was being fired and The Late Show, a staple of late night TV, is being canceled. I just wanted to give my 2 cents. Hi everyone, my name is Jacob Berry. Welcome to the Studio Jake vidcast where I talk about all things pop culture. Be sure to like, share, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell to get notifications when I post a new vidcast, and consider becoming a channel member. If you want to support me in the work that I do, head on over to my new website, studiojakemedia.substack.com. The link is in the description. It is where you can subscribe at different tiers that unlock different perks. It really helps me out. Thank you in advance. So Stephen Colbert, he got his start on Comedy Central. He was spun off from The Daily Show for The Colbert Report. His name is spelled Colbert. I don't know why he just doesn't call himself Colbert, but it's Colbert. Anyway, after his tenure there, he was picked up to replace David Letterman, the longtime host of The Late Show, who was retiring. His rivalry with Jay Leno had come to an end with Jay Leno's own retirement from The Tonight Show, now hosted by Jimmy Fallon. And Letterman had gone on a little bit longer than Leno had, but with their rivalry officially over, I guess he saw no need to continue. Now, he did go on to host a show for Netflix. That one was very short-lived. Who was going to replace him? Ultimately, CBS, the network behind The Late Show, chose Stephen Colbert. And initially, Colbert had some success. Curious onlookers came onto view because when he was on Comedy Central, Colbert put on sort of this pastiche and parody of right-wing hosts like Sean Hannity and Bill O'Reilly. But for The Late Show, he dropped that entirely and just decided to be himself. That ultimately proved to be a disaster because, like I said, initially ratings and viewership were really good. But over time, and especially during the COVID lockdowns, we saw a dramatic drop in viewership for Stephen Colbert. Now, if you ask anyone else what has led to this cancellation, because don't forget, it's not just that they're firing Colbert, they're canceling The Late Show. This echoes what happened with James Corden. He was this smug, elitist, entitled British comedian that somehow got a job hosting an American late night show called The Late Late Show. However, when evidence of his bratty behavior became apparent, especially his mistreatment of the K-pop band BTS during a dumb monologue he did where he got corrected by John Cena of all people, and then his awkward interaction with them during his carpool karaoke, ultimately culminating in his interview with them where they mocked him for having to apologize to them. It all led to this sort of revelation about how he was very bratty behind the scenes. And we saw this with Sir Patrick Stewart calling him out at a reward ceremony where James Corden acted indifferent to the awards he was presenting, and Stewart called him out for this. This led to him to be fired, but he had damaged the brand so bad that the Late Late Show was canceled and replaced with a totally different show. Now, that show itself is gone. But it seems like CBS is giving Colbert the same treatment. Why? Because Stephen Colbert has completely destroyed the brand with his antics. Gone are the days of Carson Daly, of Jay Leno, of Johnny Carson, where comedians like them could have celebrity guests and they could laugh and have a good time, where they could have on politicians from both sides of the aisle and also laugh and have a good time, mocking them a little bit. But it was always sort of divided in an even sense. Not so with Stephen Colbert. He would have on weird guests like Adam Schiff, that pencil neck Democratic senator from California who was involved allegedly in multiple scandals. He would have on CNN host to talk about, oh, how great they're doing. And it was really funny. He had on one CNN host, and when he said that CNN was fair and impartial, his own audience actually laughed. And the host was like, "It was that a laugh line?" And he was like, "It wasn't supposed to be, but I guess it is." Okay, but why not have on, someone funny like Shane Gillis, or even like the latest hot band member or singer or actor, or have on someone? Why are you having on CNN host and exclusively Democrat politicians? Not only that, but during the COVID lockdowns, it became very apparent who his sponsors actually were. Big Pharma. He would do these skits where he would have women dressed up as needles come out and do like a jig. He called it the vaccine. He did a parody of I Would Walk 500 Miles, but made it about getting the jab. It was all very pathetic. People on the left, especially, are trying to frame this as an attempt at censorship. Why? Because President Donald Trump had sued Paramount, the parent company of CBS, over an interview they did with Kamala Harris where they edited it to make her look better than she actually was. Instead of going to court, because I'm sure CBS did not want this going to discovery, they decided to settle it. And then just a few months later, Colbert gets fired. What people want to leave out is Colbert went on the air and criticized his bosses. I don't know about you, but if you get on national television and you criticize your boss, you get fired. That's how it works, because you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to be an employee. These celebrities seem to think they're above that, but I hate to break it to them. It's a job. Yes, it's a job that gives them more money and allows them to spend more on their hair products than I do on rent and groceries every year. But that's besides the point. These smug elitists think they can do things like this and get away with that. I have no doubt his monologue where he said that his bosses at CBS were taking a bribe from Trump in order to get a sale pass. Paramount is trying to get itself sold to Skydance, which is another film studio. They're trying to get picked up by them, a so-called merger, and they have to go through an approval process by the federal government, which I think is ridiculous. And so Colbert's logic was they're settling with Trump so that this merger with Skydance can happen. Okay, well, even if that was true, I doubt that seriously, Stephen Colbert doesn't have the right to go on the air and slam his bosses to his dozens of viewers. And I really believe that is what played a part in this. They could have fired him for cause, in my opinion, but they didn't do that. But not only are they not just firing him, he has damaged the brand so bad with his repetition of the Russia hoax, with his constant playing PR manager for the Democrats. He has destroyed what the Late Show once stood for, which is a chance for Americans to come in, have some late night beer or wine and laugh and have a good time with celebrities. That's what the Late Show is supposed to be. Instead, it has become a propaganda arm of the DNC, and there's no reverse. But Jacob Gutfeld, he's right wing. Okay, yes, but Gutfeld also criticizes Republicans when it's necessary. He doesn't just constantly rag on Democrats. He goes after both sides. Yes, sure, Democrats more so. But yes, I would also like to point out Gutfeld's ratings are higher. You would think the other hosts like Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Stephen Colbert, Seth Meyer, that they would pick up on this, but those morons haven't. So instead of trying to emulate Gutfeld, even just in the way that they're going to be fair, they're not going to be so mean to conservatives. I'm not saying they have to, grovel, but just in a way where they can establish themselves to look more fair. They would rather take claps, not laughs, and I have a feeling that this is what ultimately led to the shutdown of the Late Show. And it's such a shame, because late night TV used to be a place where Americans could come together in the evening and then they could talk about what was said, what interview was done the next morning with their friends around the water cooler at work. But that's not how it worked out. So I'm not sad to see Stephen Colbert go. He's just a wealthy celebrity. His show was costing $100 million to make, which makes no sense to me. It's a freaking soundstage. Part of that was Colbert's salary. He had a ridiculously overbloated salary, which is why no one should cry for him. And whatever Jamie Lee Curtis and Senator Elizabeth Warren and Senator Adam Schiff say, they're all crying, oh, they're trying to silence us. No, they're not. He did a bad thing. He did a poor job. He wasn't funny, and now he's getting fired. That's how it works in comedy. If you're not funny, you get booed off the stage, and that's what happened to Stephen Colbert. But don't worry, I'm sure he will land on his feet. He'll get a job at MSNBC, or he'll get some big podcast deal at Spotify, or he'll hook up with some YouTube network and have a YouTube show. He's not being canceled in the sense that, oh, he's going to become a pariah, sort of like Papa from Papa John's. He is just going to immediately get another role. He might even get a couple of film roles out of this because he did his duty. He played with the orchestra and he made no one laugh, but he got applause from the people who wanted to applaud him, and that was it. I'm not sorry about this. Goodbye, Stephen Colbert. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. If you like that video, be sure to give it a like, share it out to all your friends, leave me a comment to what you think, and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast, and consider becoming a channel member. Don't forget, if you want to support me in the work that I do, head on over to my new website, studiojakemedia.substack.com. You can subscribe at different tiers that unlock different perks, including being able to pick the topic for the website or even here on this vidcast. That's pretty cool. It really helps me out when you do that. Thank you in advance. On that same website, there's a conveniently titled section called Buy My Books. It's where you can pick up one or all four of my novels. I've got links all over the place, but they're all available on Amazon. So head on over, pick them up, leave me a 5-star review. It really helps out small indie creators like myself. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.